Hi guys, so today we're going to be covering the topic of writing a personal statement for economics. So what I want to do is essentially how to approach it, things that you need to cover. So in our criteria, we're going to be covering several things. So one, you want to basically convey in an intelligent way what your motivations are for studying your course. So you want to show what sparked your interest. You want to say, for example, what you've done at the sixth form level. So what have you done essentially from your subjects outside of academia, even that's essentially allowed you to gain the skills to study economics. Have you done any worked on any projects, any sort of like any achievements that you essentially want to convey. You also want to show, for example, that you've read around the topic. So we're going to be giving you suggestions on how to essentially incorporate books that you might have read or any lectures that you might have attended, and also how to sort of write out what your future career plans are, what you hope to achieve from studying the course. So let's start. In the first paragraph, I've left it. So what I've done here essentially is when you start a personal statement, what you don't want is you don't want to have that sort of boring, typical starting lines like I've always been fascinated by economics because of blah 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 blah. I enjoy maths and this is why I want to study. No, you don't want to do that because, like I said, it's been done a million times. It's boring, and like I said, you want to capture the imagination. You want to essentially capture the interest of the admissions tutor. So when you start your paragraph, you want to start with something. Yeah, you want to start with, for example, what was it that essentially fascinated you about that subject? So did you read something? Was it some kind of global event? Typical books to include are, for example, Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, Tom Topicki, anything done by Frida Kayak, Maynard Keynes. Again, feel free to add your own authors. These are just starting points. Historical events that you might want to think about are the Industrial Revolution, subprime mortgage crisis, the Marshall Program, oil crisis as well. And when you've basically stated what it was that essentially captured your imagination, what you then want to do is you then want to essentially elaborate on how it's sort of just. When I say elaborate, I'm talking only about a few lines. You want to talk about how it's then linked to the human society. So how has it shaped the world around us? How has it impacted human development? Has it led to any sort of major milestones? So, for example, if I said that my interest was initially sparked by the Industrial Revolution, if I was going to elaborate, I'd be talking about things like, for example, the division of labour, concepts of debt and credit. What else, for example? Yeah, I could even talk about the use of money in transactions. So these are so for example, just to those bullet points, the first three bullet points that are in that list. Again, these are things that are integral to the economy today. But I'd probably be talking about how the Industrial Revolution sort of influenced them, how it's maybe refined them, these sorts of things. So, an example. Oh, before I finish, just to also add, when you've done that, then essentially hint at what area of economics you're currently interested. So not what initially sparked your interest. You just want to have a gentle hint at what is your current interest, so that we can then use that to expand onto the next paragraph. So is essentially a sample paragraph, so a sample personal statement I've written. This is not real. This is just a fictitious student, but I just want to show you how I'm essentially implementing what we've said in the previous two slides. So in the first few sentences, essentially, I've talked about how innovation in the field of economics has essentially is what essentially sparked my interest, different schools of thoughts, and then I've essentially elaborated on it and how it's changed the world around us. So, for example, in the middle it says this is the standard macroeconomic model for the first world, and I've also then ended with just a gentle hint on what topic of economics would currently interest our fictitious students. So let's go to the second paragraph. So now we want to essentially continue to lightly expand on what we said previously. So, for example, if I said that, to our fictitious student said he was interested in government fiscal policy, so we want to expand on that gently. What we want to do is then, again, like I said, just add a few lines. After that, what you then want to do is you want to talk about what was it about economics, essentially, why you want to study economics. So, good things to talk about are there any particular top modules, for example, that you might want to study, and then link that to what topic of economics currently interests you. Again, this will show that you've actually read around the topic, you've actually looked at the actual specification for the course, you've actually understood what the actual objectives are of some of the modules. So again, this shows a different level of research than someone that's just done a quick 5-minute Google search. Sorry. So again, in that second paragraph, I've just continued to expand lightly on what I finished with the first on the ending of the first paragraph. So government fiscal policy essentially is what we started with. I've just added 2 lines to essentially talk about just a few lines on what it was that I was interested, why that topic interested me. Afterwards, I've then used that essentially to then spearhead me into the next bit. So I talked about what it was at the degree level that I wanted to study. I've also talked just again very lightly talked about what modules might interest me, and yeah, just want to stick to that. So then, reason why we do it like that is because when we go to the third paragraph, what we want to do is essentially is what we want to show a different perspective about our interest and knowledge of the field of economics. So in here, what you want to do is you want to talk about anything that you've done outside. So have you gone to any particular lecture series? Have you done any voluntary work? Perhaps engaged in any entrepreneurship yourself? Have you done any kind of summer programs? These are the sorts of things that you want to talk about, because again, this shows a different level of commitment, that as opposed to someone who's again done a bit of just read a few things online. Once you've stated what it was that you've done outside, what you then want to do is you then want to talk about how it's developed you. So for example, say if I was listening to, say I've gone to a particular lecture series, what have I achieved? Because it's all good and well going to it, but what have you actually achieved from it? So for example, you want to talk about things like, has it shaped your, has it influenced your understanding of the modern world? Has it taught you how to communicate differently? For example, has it taught you how to examine information in a more critical manner? Has it given you a deeper understanding of human behaviour? These are the sorts of things that you want to just mention. So here's a sample paragraph again, where it's basically been again, I've continued on from our previous 2 paragraphs. So our fictitious student has been going to a public economic lecture series by the Institute of Fiscal Studies. He's interested in the topic of behavioral economics, and it's given him a new perspective on human behaviour and how it informs modern marketing. So he's talked about what he's done outside, what he's gained from it, and on top of that, how it's changed his perspective on things. So let's go on to the 4th paragraph. Now you want to continue, essentially, we're just continuing the theme of what we've done outside of academia. So for example, this paragraph I always find it's good to talk about any part-time jobs. Have you done anything like maybe engaged in anything sort of related to the school but not essentially related to academia? So maybe a student council, or you're into athletic, music, just anything, something like that, anything that involves responsibility, that involves time management, a bit of self-discipline. Yeah, exactly. So just to moving on, just going on, expanding on a bit of self-discipline, you want to talk about how any kind of position of responsibility that you might have had has essentially also continued to develop you as a person, because you want to show the examiner, you want to show the admissions student that you're a well-rounded person. So has it taught you to be better with your time management? Has it taught you about commitment, following through with things, accountability, these sorts of things? So here's a sample paragraph for our fictitious students. Again, like I said, feel free to pause the video at any point, and just read through it, and like I said, at your own pace. And just remember, this is just for a fictitious student. So yeah. Moving on to the 5th paragraph. In this subject, what you want to talk about is essentially what you've studied. So you want to talk about what you've done, maybe the A level or the BTEC or college, sixth form, essentially whatever. You want to talk about what you've studied and what skills you've gained from it, but you want to link those skills to the skills needed to study economics. So for example, if I'm going to study economics, I need to be comfortable with statistics, I need to be comfortable with large data sets, I need to be comfortable with maths. It's more of a logical mindset that one requires. Now, so you've essentially listed some of the characteristics that you need to be a successful student. Now link that to what you studied essentially previously before you sort of at A level or the college level, what you essentially studied, and you want to essentially show that you've got a direct link. So just to give you a better understanding of what I'm trying to say, if we look at it, so in our sample paragraph, the student stated essentially what A-level subjects he's done. He's talked about what he's gained. So for example, him studying maths and business has given him a strong numerical grounding, commercial awareness. He's given them a bit of an introduction into the whole concept of modelling, something that you'll be doing quite a lot if you do decide to study economics. And he's also just, again, like I said, it's a short, simple paragraph, subjects you've studied, what skills you've gained, and make sure those skills link to the skills needed to successfully study economics. And in our final paragraph, again, this is just a simple conclusion. You want to talk about why you want to study economics at a degree level, what you hope to gain from it, and just gently hint at your future plans. So a sample paragraph for us would be, again, like I said, this would open up a wealth of opportunities within the area of government economic policy for our fictitious students. Like you said, just quick 4 lines in a little bit. Simple, short, straight to the point. And so thank you for paying attention, guys. I hope this helps. Like I said, I highly recommend pause the video, go through the notes that I've written in there. Take your time studying some of the sample paragraphs, look at the style, look at the way that the sentences are structured, look at the information that we're conveying. So look at each of the bullet points that I've stated, and then try and see the similarities between some of the sample paragraphs that I've written. Like I said, hope this helps. If you've got any questions, feel free to send them in, and I'll see you guys next time.